Thanks for choosing to watch the video, and it's episode 3 of our Perch Masters series. And I feel very fortunate in this one to present to you an angler that I think probably catches more big perch than anyone that I know, the amazing Mr. Matt Woods. As you know, we've had a lot of rain, the rivers are in a bit of a mess, and I've got to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed when I spoke to Matt and we were going to go to a gravel pit and we weren't going to the rivers until I received this.
Well, there's no wide angle on this lens, trust me. It's just my iPhone. Look at that for a big old guffer. What a special fish that is. I'm coming here again. Come on.
And with that, I grabbed the keys and my camera and I was off up the motorway. This one really is jam-packed with loads of tips and tricks to help you catch more big perch. So grab a pen and a piece of paper because this is going to be incredible. All right, Matt, well, it's awesome to be out here with you. What I want to start with is building a little bit of context in terms of time of year. Where are we? Sort of mid-December, coming up for Christmas?
Yeah, I'm feeling festive. I don't know about you.
Got your red hat on.
Yeah, yeah. Got a white beard now.
And yeah, how would you describe the conditions?
It's a really nice fishing day, actually. It's quite a pretty sky, isn't it? We've got, I wouldn't say it was overcast, but it's cloudy.
Yeah.
Not much wind this morning. It's relatively mild. I think it dropped down to about 3 or 4 degrees this morning. Yeah. But it'll be a lot warmer later on. And we're on a gravel pit that I haven't fished loads. It would have been nice to go on the river, but you know, you've got to have venues like this as a backup plan.
Is that why we're the river in a mess?
Yeah, I think, you know, ideally I'd want the river to be 1.5 meters or something on the marker that I use. Gotcha. And it's 2.5. Right. And it's going up.
Okay. You've had to go here before then?
Yeah, I fished it last spring, and I caught 2 like really good fish.
Clonkers.
The first fish I caught was 215, of like a real gold looking fish. And I thought, I wonder if they all look like that. Yeah. And then I carried on fishing and I hooked into what I thought was a pike because it felt a lot heavier. And there's quite a lot of weed around, you know, you're playing them and it's weeded up. And the fish was kiting left and kiting right. I thought, it's a pike. And then when I saw it, I'm like, oh, no, it's not a pike. It's not a pike. Yeah. And I thought it was a 4-pounder. It's such a big frame, deep, you know, real deep bodied fish. Wasn't quite that, 312, but it's the biggest perch anybody's ever caught. A really big fish.
And you just went on a rumour, did you? Or what made you even try it?
The guys, over the years, you know, I've carp fished down here quite a lot. The guys who work on site, the gamekeeper, you know, the guys who maintain all the grass and the trees and do a bit of work on the farm. Dave, who I trust a lot, he suggested coming down because he'd seen a big shoal of what he thought were quite big perch. So I came down here for a go. I fished for probably 2.5 hours, 2 hours before I caught one.
You catch them on similar tactics to what you're using now?
Exactly the same.
Was it?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of weed in the lake. If I retrieve it in line with the 2 tall trees over there, I'm going to find that weed bed. Yeah. So
yeah, it's almost like you're leading when you're carp fishing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly.
You're working out where the weed is
and where it isn't.
Where it isn't, where the channels are. And then take us through your tackle box. Have a look at some of these lures. Some of the secret lures that you don't show anyone. That you don't show anyone, but you're going to show us.
Well, there are a few in here that some people probably won't be familiar with, and a lot that people will. You know, my sort of first choice shad pattern is the 8cm Q paddler. And in here, I've basically got sort of 3 or 4 of a few different types of colours. They all sort of contrast a little bit differently. So, you know, I might rotate between those 3 in a swim before I'd even think about changing lure altogether. But it's not the only shad that I take with me. I like to have some smaller shads that kick the tail in a different way. So that you look at a Q paddler, it's got quite a big tail given the sort of profile of the body.
Quite a thin wrist as well. Isn't
it? And all the action's at the back of it.
Yeah.
And obviously not every lure and every shad kicks the same. So these little Kofi shads, it's a tiny little tail, but that wrist section's much bigger.
Yeah.
So as opposed to a Q paddler's got a really stable tail.
Yeah.
This is a bit more looping, a bit more erratic, which if there are a lot of smaller bait fish around is better than a Q paddler.
Right.
So Dietmar Isaiah, the European angler, he said to me, you know, when you're thinking about shads, something that's really important is if you're trying to match the hatch is think about how the bait fish swim. Smaller fish, it's more erratic, the tails kick faster, whereas a bigger roach or whatever it may be is going to have a bit more body roll and move with a bit more purpose, move a bit more water.
Okay, yeah.
So if you go for a bigger shad, then because you're trying to match the size of the bait fish, then go for one that swims in that sort of style. Equally, if there are a lot of really small bait fish around, that's a Quantum 4 Street bass shad. That's great, full of salt, they stink to high heaven, really good for fishing weedless, got all the slots in and everything. And if there's a lot of small fry and stuff around, I'll change to that.
I was going to say, in terms of sizes, how do you know what size to choose? Are you just matching the hatch?
And sometimes the guess, I might start with that, and you know, I'll change to something with a bit of a tighter pattern, a bit of a smaller tail, and that starts working, and that basically tells me.
So you're sort of matching the hatch, but then ringing the changes.
Yeah. Within the parameters.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like creature baits. You know, I carry a few different creature baits in this box. All my Flotex lures, you know, all my Z-Man stuff, all that sort of really spongy, soft bait, I keep in the packets. I think they just keep better for longer. You can flavour them up better when they're in the packets. Whereas my sort of straight shads, sort of positive fishing techniques, the lures, I'll keep them in a box, keep it all separate.
Can I have a look at creature baits now?
Yeah, so you know, you can break creature baits up into categories within the category as well. So I always think, you know, with the sort of normal plastisol type baits, you've got these creature baits with great big claws, and it's like they've got two tails, you know, they literally swim like that.
You've chopped a bit off that.
Yeah,
I do that as well. I sometimes do that where the body's just too long.
And that's just to get the perfect rigging, you know. If I'm fishing this weedless, I want the hook right at the top here, not at the back.
Do you cut your lures up quite a lot? I do a fair amount on mine, just to trim them up here and there, especially the body sections, and get it as I want it.
I think with a Q paddler, when I'm using them on a Corum squirm head, I actually find it
just
better
nip a bit
to
off.
just nip a bit off the front.
Yeah.
It just seems to get the hook point exactly where you want it. Or creature baits, because they're quite big baits, you know, got a big body.
They always have got very big bodies, haven't they? Yeah.
You can go quite big with a hook. I mean, that's a great big bait that I started using on that little crayfish pool not far from my house. Again, great big long flappers. So you've got all these creature baits that I've got with me are very positive baits. You know, I'm not going to fish these slowly because they're designed to be fished to give it all out.
The appendages are just everything, aren't they?
Whereas in my sort of bag of tricks here, where everything's kept in the packets, I've got lures like Reggie's and some of the Z-Man little craws that don't do anything. They go, and they might give it a bit of a wiggle and a waggle, but they don't really do anything. So you,
I just got shot.
The only other lure that I've got in here, which you could class as an inert bait, this is actually something you'll see the bass anglers use a lot in the sea. It's not really a perch bait.
Yeah, that's unlike anything I've ever seen, I think. It's,
you know, it's got the hallmarks of a squirm or a TRD. It's got a flat top and then these ridges. These ridges have inspired quite a lot of Corum lures.
Right, I see, yeah.
And
what do you think they do? What do the ridges?
They make the bait dart.
Okay.
So if I just hop it, this bait is really good to keep the tip low and hop it along. It doesn't come back towards you in a straight line.
Right.
It wants to go left and right.
Oh, interesting.
Right. And it looks like a fish in distress.
Very flat top you're about to move on to there, isn't it?
Yeah, extremely flat top, which gives you some good rigging options. You can rig it that way around as well.
It's like a pintail without any tail. It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, you think a lot of smaller bait fish, the tail is virtually transparent. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I've never seen a roach that had a tail that looked like that.
And I'm intrigued by this one. So how are you fishing that? Almost like a inert bait, or?
I'm letting it dart. I'm hopping it. It's always, I'm trying to keep it on the bottom all the time.
So you're Ned rigging it?
Yeah, but it's not buoyant.
Not quite. Oh, it's not buoyant.
It's not buoyant.
Oh, okay.
No, so I have to keep it moving. I can't rely on the pause. And the other thing that these baits have got is a mega bass bait called an X layer.
Yeah.
There's a rattle in there.
Oh, okay. So you do want to move it a certain amount to get something out of the rattle. Yeah.
So I find it really good, you know, sort of hop, little pause, but not a long, because it's not a Ned rig bait. I have to keep it moving.
Interesting. What's that one called again?
An X layer.
X layer.
X layer. They do great big massive ones. They do an even smaller one.
What's that? 5 inch, 4 inch?
I think it's 4.5 inches. It's classed as. They do it in loads and loads of different colours. And
yeah,
again,
what are the winning colours on that one? Because I'm intrigued by this one.
I really like. I think this one's called Wagasaki or something like that.
Right, great.
Great in clear water.
Fantastic.
And then you've got this sort of olive orange.
Right. Well, we'll try and put some links in the description to all these because they look fantastic.
This would be the kind of bait.
Intriguing, that one.
It's the kind of bait I would put on if I'd already caught a few fish and it stops happening.
Really?
And it's very good on areas where lots of people fish, because most people are fishing the lure, hop up and down in the water.
It's
the
just
fish get
different.
used to it. It's totally different presentation.
So good on pressured venues.
Very good. Extremely good.
Fantastic.
So, you know, and I've got that again, high contrast. That's a sort of purpley black colour.
Nice purpley colour we were talking about earlier.
A white one, again, it's been cut down a little bit.
Yeah, trim it to size. Yeah.
Never be afraid to trim a
And what
size?
And your fish those on a straight jig head, will you?
Most of the time.
Yeah, and what weight will that depend on the flow of the water and the depth?
Yeah, I'd like to go as light as I can with them. So when I'm dragging it, it doesn't get stuck.
Right.
You know, sometimes a bait gets stuck and then it pings free and it moves too far.
Got ya.
If there's some jig heads I use that are about 4 grams or something like that, 4 or 5 grams, and they're pointed as well, so they help with that darting action.
Do we think big lures, big fish?
Probably.
You reckon?
Probably, but that's not how I fish.
Nah.
I just want to catch like Pokemon fishing, just catch them all.
Okay.
Try and catch them all.
So you're going for numbers?
Yeah, because if there's, I've mentioned it a few times, if there's 20 fish there might be one personal best fish there.
Yeah.
And the only way I can make that 20 to 1 in my favour is to reduce the number. Yeah.
So you're after numbers, and you'll get that, you think, what, with a smaller lure?
Yeah.
And then maybe work your way up in size for a bigger one, or just stick with it?
Yeah, something that I've done a lot in recent years, and I think it's directly linked to how many better fish I've caught.
Yeah.
Once I've found some fish, and the first fish I catch might be the biggest one there, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it could be a big 3, it could be a 2, it could be a 1, it could be 4 ounce.
Yeah.
But it's given me an indicator, okay, that's where they are.
Yeah.
And then I'll keep fishing with what's worked, because sometimes you catch them like that by fluke, but quite often it's not that. You get one to break rank.
Right.
Now you imagine a seagull with a bag of chips. When the seagull takes the chip and flies off with it, what do you think a perch thinks when he eats that and suddenly vanishes from view?
Yeah.
It's the seagull he's run off with the chip.
Yeah.
And I think when you've got shoal of perch, the other fish, all of a sudden, they might be torpid as anything, you know, middle fingers up, I'm not interested today. You get one to break rank. And all of a sudden, they're all in a different mindset. They've all changed. Oh, there's stuff to be eaten now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Why did he get to run off with that and not me? Why did he get the chip?
Yeah.
And then you can catch a few like it. The problem, sometimes those bigger ones might have been caught before and they kind of know. What I do then is I'll swap to drop shot mostly.
Really? Yeah,
big
okay.
Bait.
What we've just looked at there, how do they differ from what we're going to look at now?
Well, everything in here is all my sort of Flowtech, Z-Man type baits. They're best kept in the packets they come in. because I believe they're at their best with some scent or something on
Yeah.
that, and I can't do that in
No.
the tackle box. I can't change the scent.
So you add scent to them quite often, do you? What,
Yeah,
in the
not
packs?
all the baits, but
Sometimes
yeah.
you do, just top them
quite
up a little
often
bit.
I'll take a packet and put like a mixture of baits in there. So, for instance, here I've got 3 different colours of gonks, and
Gotcha.
they're all loaded up with one particular scent.
Yeah,
Now, if I feel like I'm fishing somewhere and the fish have got a bit cute to the scent,
right.
I just won't. Okay, I'll rinse them off or
Yeah,
top it up with some new ones
Yeah.
or whatever. You know, people might be looking at this now, zooming in. Oh, what flavour's that? What flavour's that?
that's not that
I
important.
don't think
not really.
it's massively important. The importance is that there is a food signal. Doesn't matter what it is. Some of these lotions are
Quite
very
thick.
good because they do, and with sort of snap and floatex lures in particular, you see mammals, they really get in there.
Yeah,
They do really get into the bait.
gotcha. Yeah,
In
we
here
got?
we've got, you know, this squirrelies. Like I mentioned before, I'd rather have the baits I've got confidence in a few different contrasting colours
Yeah.
than just have piles and piles
Yeah,
of different
yeah.
baits.
yeah,
You know, and there's always a few passengers. The
yeah.
lures I carry around and never use.
Yeah, we've all
I bought
got
them because I
those.
thought they were good and
All
never
got
really
those.
put them on.
Yeah,
And then I've got some that I'm keeping for a certain set of circumstances.
sure.
So, you know, I've got my gonks, I've got my squirms, of course, I've got my squirms.
Yeah.
You know, I've got different coloured baits mixed in together because the colours don't bleed into
I mean, we're
each
going to
other.
hit a really cold period soon. It's quite
Exactly.
mild today, but we're going to.
They really
it's
start
coming,
to
isn't
come
it?
in their own. And
Yeah.
these type of baits, this is the type of lure that I'm going to put on when I find fish
Yeah.
and I believe there's a bigger one there.
Yeah,
And whether it singles them out or not, but it has done lots of times. And it's what the Americans call a fluke.
wow.
And it's quite a big
Almost like a little
body
sand
bait.
eel.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's got a fork tail.
Yeah,
that
apart from the foot.
doesn't really do
it.
anything, but they're designed for the drop shot. They're designed to be worked like that, and I'll have a mixture of
Do you
ones.
just nose hook those?
Yeah, and I literally nose hook them.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the hook being back here.
I think
I'm-
I saw an interesting way of you hooking a drop shot the other day.
Yeah.
It was different to how I do it.
Yeah, I come in
Quite-
through the bottom and have the point sticking out the middle of the nose.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know, I'm the best drop shot baits, like this one's a good example.
Yeah.
You worry about tail nippers.
Yeah,
A good drop shot bait will fold. You just literally collapse
gotcha.
in their
Okay.
mouth.
So they have to be really soft. Really
Yeah,
soft
very
lures.
very soft and in the right profile.
Yeah.
So the one that, you know, if I was going to pick a lure for the drop shot to put my life on, to sort of the one that's caught me more big fish than I think any other drop shot bait is this Dream Shot.
Gotcha.
Kevin Van Dam, I think, is the highest earning bass angler in America ever,
Gotcha.
and he's really well known for 2 things: crankbait fishing
Right.
and the drop shot.
Really.
And you know, I read all that stuff. You know, I'm a junkie for
Yeah,
lure
it's quite
fishing
interesting,
information.
isn't it? I watch a lot of the bass videos.
And
I think they're just a bit
when I
ahead of us,
watched
aren't they?
how they fished this lure for bass, it just made all the sense in the world for perch.
Yeah.
So I bought them, started using them, and you know, the results I've had is just daft.
Again, quite an unusual looking bait, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a long bait, and again, I'll just literally nose hook this as close to the nose as I can get it. And I want, this lure's really unique. The bottom part of the lure is full of salt,
Gotcha.
so it guarantees it's sitting the right way up all the time. And because you've got that skinny bit and then it goes bulbous again, if I put that anywhere near any kind of flow, I don't need to do anything.
Got one that looks similar. I used to call them called salt shakers. I don't know if you've heard of those. Made by Big Bite Baits. The similar sort of colour,
Similar.
actually. Lots of salt. What is it about the salt? Do you think that makes a difference?
For me, I know a lot of people think that the salt means that the fish grab hold of the bait and don't let go of it, or there's some sort of food signal or whatever. Is that true? No, don't know. No way of proving
Don't
it.
know.
I don't believe it's the reason this lure's so good.
No.
I think the salt is the reason it makes it sit right.
Yeah,
Salt's heavy, salt sinks.
some quite subtle profiles going on.
Very,
These
very.
lures,
And
isn't
I
there?
never cut these down. I always fish them at their full
Just
length.
as they are.
And they're hand
Two-tone as well.
Yeah.
A few of them, isn't they?
I mean, if
Underside
you
is
see
really
how
pale.
it's really soft as well. You don't get many fish to one of these.
No.
And that's pretty much, you know, I've got some other buoyant versions of
Yeah.
a fluke lure, which I think give you a different presentation. So this would be a really good bait to use where you have got low-lying weed, because it floats.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how slack my line is, that bait is not falling in the weed.
It's like squirrelies. Are they dropping on the drop shot for you?
No.
They don't really, do they? Because they're buoyant, right? So they sit up.
So with the dream shot, I'm trying to get the bait. I fish with a much longer drop.
Do you?
And I want
want the drop.
I want the bait to fall like somebody's just dropped a long worm in the side, and it, boom, they nail it on the drop.
Yeah.
With the buoyant baits, I want the opposite of that. I
Want
want the bait that, you know, if you look at bait fish when they swim.
Yeah, they don't do
They're doing
this.
all this? No.
No.
They're sat like that most
straight.
of the time. They don't even
And you're
look like
setting
they're
those
moving.
lower, are you generally?
Generally.
Yeah, you're not, because you're not looking for that drop.
No.
So sometimes you're making actually the drop quite short.
Yeah. So with those buoyant baits on the drop shot, you actually have to do a lot less.
Yes.
Which I've found very productive for them bigger fish.
Do you think you can overwork a drop shot?
Massively.
Yeah.
You can overwork every lure.
Yeah.
You know.
I see it a lot.
You see a drop shot and they look like they're having a heart attack.
Yeah, I see people drop shot and continue doing this. Almost, they're like vibrating angles like this, you know, like that, and it's doing all this in the water.
I think I mentioned to you earlier
You feel you
today,
don't need to do that.
No, I've literally caught fish with the rod in between my legs, answering a text message or trying to answer the phone, and it's just there like that. And you can
do that, like you say. That's not a drop shot thing. You can overwork the lures and all methods, I suppose. Yeah. Especially as we get into these colder months.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Massively. And I think for those, I think bigger perch, generally speaking, are pretty lazy.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
If you can literally, because once you find their house, okay, right, that's the service station they've decided to stop at today on the river or on the lake, wherever they are. You can then just keep annoying them with it. You just put it there and make it too good to be true. Yeah. And you can send some, you know, you get, how many follows do you get that don't result in a bite? It's loads more than you think.
Yeah, yeah.
And so how many times are you literally having a bait just literally wobbling in front of a fish? And he doesn't break rank. No. That's why getting that first bite, triggering all his mates, that big fish goes out of lazy mode and goes into, no, I'm the boss.
Yeah, yeah.
Why are you getting all the chips?
Yeah. He comes
I've had all the chips, look at me, you know. So
that's fantastic.
In here I've got my few different gels and scents, got me little scented pens.
Yeah, brilliant.
When I use the pens, I use them a lot with the Ned rig baits. If I'm fishing really slow.
You said you think like pens and scents are particularly effective on inert baits.
Slower.
On the slow stuff.
Yeah. So that drop shot when you're barely moving.
Yeah.
The Ned rig.
Less effective on the things you're moving through the water.
Well, because you're spreading the scent all over the place when you do that. You want to keep it in the same hole, in the same
You're almost
area.
chumming the swim. Does it feel like that?
Probably.
Rather than you moving around doing it.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a benefit to staying in the same place with a scented lure, like to keep that scent going in?
Results.
Or am I overthinking things?
Results would say that I would only be doing it once I already knew roughly where they were.
They're there. Yeah.
So, because like I say, I don't want to spread that smell of whatever it is all over the place.
No, you literally want
So it's not a hard and fast rule, just scent all your baits.
Yeah.
You see nothing in there scented on purpose because they're search baits.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole clock face trying to find some fish.
Makes absolute sense.
This is, right, I found them, now I'm going to make it pay.
Yeah, well, we certainly do that. The results say that does work. So now I've got to ask the question, if you have one lure, we've gone through quite a few lures there, if you had to choose one lure to catch you a perch, a decent perch, what lure would it be? And you're not allowed to say it depends on X, Y, Z, is it hot, is it cut? No, you've got to choose one lure.
That one. And I'm going to be specific, not one lure, that colour as well.
Right.
A sand goby, 8 centimetre cube paddler.
Right.
I caught my first ever 3-pounder off the river on it.
Right.
Did I catch the last one I caught on it? Probably. I reckon of, you know, all the fish that I've caught, all the great days I've had, that lure has featured so many times. I can't ignore it. It's my ultimate confidence.
I have seen it. You mention it a number of times. That's the killer lure.
Yeah, and it could be quite venue specific, you know, but it's got me out of jail a few times.
Have you used it on a range of different types of venues and caught fish? Yeah, it has caught everywhere. It's not. Yeah.
Not necessarily always that colour, but
No.
quite often that lure.
Right, so it's definitely one to try.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Fantastic.
would definitely be confident. If I could only go fishing with them, I wouldn't be too displeased. We've had southwesterly winds which blow down this way.
It's a very calm day, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like there's not a drop of wind.
Brilliant. We see some bait
Drop
fish.
of wind? That's not right, is it? drop of water, gust of wind. That's it, isn't it? It's not a drop of wind.
A gust of water.
Gust.
That's a bad fishing day.
Yeah. Right, you're going to bring it in and show us the rig.
Yeah. So my sort of starting point for today has been a lure that I've caught probably more fish on this autumn than any other, the squirrely, and in particular that reel ale one. When the water's quite clear, the river's been low this year, so I've used it a lot for that reason. The water's been clear. It's a very subtle lure if you fish it right. You can fish it fast and get that tail really paddling and moving a lot of water, but I like to fish it a bit more subtle and let the bait glide towards me a little bit just to calm down that tail movement. As I mentioned previously, there's quite a bit of weed in the lake, low lying, so one of my preferred setups for that is a cheb rig. I find that it's very good, a cheb rig on top of weed, because I can pause it and the bait will sort of levitate, you know, hinge off of that cheb weight. I started with an 8 gram weight. It's perfectly matched to the rod I'm using, which is a sort of 3 to 15 gram 8-foot rod. So 8 gram is good because it's still going to sit nicely on top of the weed. If I go too heavy with the weight, I'm just going to pick up more weed.
How deep's the water out there?
Probably.
Do you think you can tell by the drop? I guess sort of.
6 foot.
Yeah.
I'd say about 6 foot. So
Okay. Sometimes I find a heavier weight the deeper the water. Sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I've got one that's similar to this height, but it's nearly 20 foot in places.
Yeah.
And now I'm going right up to 10s and 15.
I tend to work it, a gram for every foot that you've got, or every foot and a half.
It's not always about the casting distance.
No,
is it?
no,
and you want it to fall through the water at a certain pace. Sure.
Obviously, with the bigger bait gives me the bigger jig head. Sorry, gives me the ability to do a bigger lift.
Yeah.
And then control how it falls back down. So I'm feeling the lead down all the way back.
Yeah.
Because like here, I know it's deep, then it's shallow, then it's deep again. I want to feel it when it goes down that shelf, because I'm expecting them to be in that sort
and just
of
because I know people like to know the detail, 8 gram cheb weight.
Yep.
EWG hook, obviously. What size is that? Is that like a 1.0, 2.0, something like that?
Yeah, it's a 1.0.
1.0.
You can use a size 1 cheb head, works really well with a squirrely and with a squirm. I've just gone slightly bigger because of that weed. This is a sort of prototype hook actually, and it's really nice and sticky sharp, a little bit wider in the gape. I like that the point on it points back at the eye, so I haven't got to sort of manipulate that point to hide it in the bait. Yeah, it hides in there on its own. And
you've gone with the real ale colour. Is that just because you know it's a banging colour that catches a lot of fish?
Well,
you mentioned it matching the water a bit. Or
I mean, we can show that after. When I drag that through here, the body of the bait is gone. It's disappeared against the colour of the water. Yeah, you're only really seeing those little flashes of the tail.
And how long will you fish with that lure before you think it's time to change it?
Gut feeling, really.
Is it? It's just gut feeling. Depending on whether you've had knocks or anything like that, is
absolutely, it? Yeah. If you get a colour like, I caught a pike on it first chuck.
Yeah,
I've had another one and another one, I'd be thinking, okay,
then you'd be thinking about changing it.
I'll change colour. I always change colours before I change lure. I think it's really important. Yeah. You'll see in my gear, there's it looks like a lot of lures, but it's not. It's a small selection of lures in a wide variety of colours. Yeah. So I might take that off.
You can overcomplicate lures,
absolutely.
Can't you?
Yeah,
really
massively. So I might take that off and put the dart lure on. Yeah. So then I've covered, this is really low contrast. Let's use a high contrast bait without going bright and see if that gets me a reaction.
I've been doing a lot of that where I start with almost the same. I start with a real ale and then I'll go either end of the spectrum. So dart lord, silverfish, and then carry on from there, I think.
And you can do it with your lure selection. If you've got 4 different colours, make sure you're covering bright, dark, light, neutral.
Yeah, makes absolute sense. Might have found him.
Oh, he let go of it.
So that's 2 hits and 1 there that's just let go. That's what the changes you're making.
So, because I've had a couple of hits there that haven't really come into anything, I want to get that hook exposed.
They were definite hits, those, weren't
Yeah.
they? Well, it looks like it might have located them, which would be ideal.
Get that
You
hook
don't
exposed.
yet know that they're perch, but
No, I've got a feet.
do you think they might?
Might not
Well, you
be
don't
very
know,
big,
though, do you?
but no. But this gives me the opportunity to find out.
Yeah.
So I'm going a bit lighter, so I
Right.
get more hang time. It's not a very big area. This
What
is.
lure you got on?
It's that little Kofi shad.
Right. Okay.
I caught the first fish I caught from here last year was on this same shad, and once I'd caught that one, I ended up switching to a squirm.
Right.
Snappy.
Yeah.
But this has triggered them. It's triggered something anyway.
There was something there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Definitely. 100%.
That line was going down the bank.
Yeah, yeah.
That was fish.
Had hold of it, didn't it?
Tip of this rod's a bit too soft. Or,
Yeah. I sometimes worry about that with this really, really soft.
What is that?
What is that?
That's what I'm trying to.
I can see you bringing the rod up quite high to
Yeah.
get the fall on the lure.
I like to use the rod rather than the reel because I want it to come up vertically,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
horizontally.
Sure. Up and a drop.
Yeah, but as it falls, I'm keeping the line tight. But I do find it better to feel it down. And sometimes if you lift it up and feel it down, at the bottom of its arc, it swings. You
Right,
get some.
gotcha.
You can get a good reaction from them sometimes doing that. I'm probably going to have maybe a couple of more casts with this, just changing the retrieve a little bit, and then I'll change lure.
Right.
Because to get
What will you change to?
Q paddler probably,
Of course.
because it's the same profile
Yeah.
but a different action and tail.
There we go. We got one.
A Staffordshire monster. I had a feeling that it might have been some smaller fish.
Do you think that's what you were getting hits from?
Yeah, but they don't swim around on their own,
No.
and you know there's every chance that there's a great big gang of these hanging around with mum and dad. Just don't know.
It's a good sign that it's not a pike.
Yeah, and it's perch. It's the right species. So.
Yeah. Go.
Getting a little bit bigger, Nick.
They're getting there.
Getting there.
There, that is a bigger one.
That is a big one.
Yeah.
A gang of them would do,
We're
and then
happy with those, yeah.
catch the grandma later on. Well,
Smashing.
if you just want to have some fun this winter, catching fish like this, 6 centimetre gonk or a 5 centimetre squirm, you'll be having fun all day long.
In that lobworm colour. as
Oh
well.
yeah, they love it.
Definitely getting bigger. And you have found some fish.
Yeah.
And they're the right species.
Yeah,
so you
yeah.
don't know.
Interesting that I changed retrieve.
You
so
did,
that
didn't you?
The bait's
Yeah.
got a bit more glide at the bottom of its travel, and got one like straight away. Sometimes it's just. I do think
you
they're
just need
sat
to
in
switch
that.
up that retrieve a bit.
They're just sat in that weed bed. Yeah, it's you know it's like you were talking about before, about concentration.
Yes.
Very
yeah.
easy to just keep chucking the same lure the same old way,
Yeah.
and not actually changing. All you're changing is the location. You're not
Yes.
changing.
You're going through the
anything else.
motions if you're not careful,
Yeah.
aren't you?
And you know, I should get to the point now where I'm thinking, well, if there's a few of them around, they should be getting a better return.
Yes.
Why is it taking 10 casts?
Yeah.
Could be the colour, could be the
Yeah.
lure,
Yeah.
could be the retrieve,
Yeah.
could even be as daft as where I'm standing. You know, there's lots of things you can change before you need to start rooting through your box.
That's awesome. We just need you to catch one of these donkeys.
Great big
now.
one, yeah. I'm not convinced the great big ones are in here, but
It's nice to be getting some perch.
yeah, there are perch here, and where there's one, there's usually some more.
Yeah.
It does go even deeper still, just beyond this tree. So
worth a go down there
I
as
think
well.
it might be worth change the angle of attack
Yeah.
and reset a little bit.
I think it sometimes makes a difference to hit the same spot from a different angle.
Massively.
Oh, I do.
Massively,
Yeah.
Especially
because you know the fish are there. Definitely found some fish though.
They want that cube paddler bad. It's not really big.
Right.
He fought valiantly for
Yes.
his size. I think we're going to catch a lot of perch now because a couple of reasons. Catching a fish just activates the shoal. You get, that seagull with the chip thing, he's just ran off with the chip. All his mates are down there going, where did that meal go?
Yeah.
That easy meal that just presented itself. And it's really funny. This perch is a good example of you're never too big for a toothy critter. But hopefully,
But it's good to see you catching a few.
Mum-
Fantastic.
Mother is down there protecting this lot, so let's keep hammering.
Keep going. Feels like we're getting closer to what we're after, doesn't
Hooking
it?
them down quite, I would say it's probably the deepest part of this bay.
Right. And they're not getting that much pressure, but there's a lot of water for them to disappear into
Yeah.
there, isn't
That's why I always stay back from the water if I can.
there? Yeah,
Still fish it like I'm stalking, even if I'm not.
yeah.
A chatterbait's but hardly stalking, is it?
No.
Tell you what, that's worth a chuck in it. There you go. Oh,
Well done. Got one on.
I think that's a pike.
Oh, it's kiting.
Gotta
Feels-
be a pike, yeah.
feels a bit pikey.
Bigger pike.
It feels like it could be quite a good one as well, this one.
Not giant, just a bigger one. This clear water is amazing. There's another one underneath him, just looking
Is
at
it?
him. Yeah. Hey, 100 yards of line just vanish up the reservoir. You get them in the net and you're like, oh, didn't want to catch that. Yeah, it probably wouldn't want to catch any.
I mean, that's not a bad one, Matt. You're
He's
right.
alright. He's alright. I'm just conscious of the leader. I'm not
Yeah.
going to yank it.
Yeah,
too much.
yeah.
Just let him swim into the net.
Got to be careful.
Yeah, he's alright, isn't he?
Yeah, he's quite a chunk, isn't he?
Not what we came for, but good sport all the same. Pike Masters!
And then the old pike master went on to land another couple of pike or two.
Backing up on the cucumber.
Leached up already.
Keep going, Matt. You've got this.
You can do it! I'm already the Pike Master, it's done.
You are. Right. Matt, you look lost.
I'm just wondering whether to
You
go
don't
on.
look like you know what to
I
do.
don't know whether to go on foot or
Oh, is that it?
I'm wondering
Where
whether
we
to
going,
go
round
on
to
the
that
other
point?
so I can fish in there and out here as well.
Right.
From the same point.
Yeah, okay. Do that. I think that far point looks really good.
Should we walk?
Not that I know much.
Let's walk.
Let's walk. He's got his coffee.
Now this is how I normally travel. This is my top tip when you've got too many fishing rods and
Is that
reels.
the best
like
advice
me.
so far?
The only bit of good advice you'll hear today.
There you go. Right, come on, go get that perch. Same spot you just got
Exactly
that
the
pike.
place.
It's incredible that, isn't it?
Exactly where I just caught that pike from.
little bung down the edge. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll even record this one.
Well, we're stuck on these little gangsters, but instant gratification changed to slower squirm. Got one straight away. Actually had a bite just before this that I think might have been from a better fish, so we'll keep hammering.
So Matt, what is it that you like about perch fishing in particular? What is it? Why are we so obsessed by perch?
I think it's the fact that you never really learn the answer.
Yeah.
Just as you think you figured it out, they move the goalposts.
Yeah, what were you saying earlier on?
The perch is the fish with the most middle fingers.
That's true.
That dorsal fin on the middle of their back,
That's it.
it's up yours.
Yeah.
That is. And they're so fickle, and you know, the wild fish in particular, you know, the ones that I'm spending most of my time fishing for.
Yeah.
Fishing for, you know, here, virgin perch on the river predominantly. You know, it's fish that don't see another human being in the whole lifetime. They see me, and then they might, if they're lucky, they might get to see me again. And I love that. It's the whole. It's not just perch fishing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, sitting on a commercial with prawns and live baits and all that sort of stuff out, you can keep it on.
Yeah.
It might be more productive, but it's not what I want to do.
No.
It's not perch. You know, I'm pretty obsessed with perch in terms of they all look different. They look ace. You know, they fight really well for their
You get a lot of
size.
people that think they look the same. They don't really, not if you look closely.
Yeah, and there's not a great deal of people really fishing for them,
Yeah.
like in an obsessive way, like I am.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like we do.
Yeah.
You know, and I suppose that's part of where the premise for this show comes from, isn't it?
Yeah.
The perch masters.
Yeah.
We've only caught the fish we've caught because we've tried.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of effort goes into these fish, doesn't it?
And there's a lot of desire
Yeah.
to go and try again and keep casting and casting. I mean, how many casts have we made today?
Yeah.
I mean, you just keep going because I know there's big fish in there. I've caught them myself.
And quite often a lot of effort does go into catching them. There you go, it's kingfisher.
That's a good
Nice.
sign.
But yeah, you know, a lot of effort does normally go into it, doesn't it? And they say it's an old cliche, effort equals reward and all the rest of it. But I do think there's an element of that is a bit of a grind, isn't it? It's a lot harder work than sitting on a chair, isn't it? There's a bit of legwork involved.
There are much easier fish to catch.
There is.
But then again, you know, you get the days where the conditions right, the water temperature's right, the clarity's right, the air temperature's right,
Yeah.
the fish are there. You time it well, and perch fishing can feel easy.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. You go home thinking, I've got it sussed. You know, you're a cock of the walk. Oh, it's easy this is.
Yeah.
The next week, you're a feather duster.
Back to square one, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's the appeal for me.
Yeah.
Never. It's like a game you can't complete.
Perfect. Good answer.
Well, Nick, we thought we'd run out of time. We thought we'd run out of chances, but we didn't run out of luck. A little change to the drop shot, didn't try it all day. We got this 2-pounder straight away. What a lovely day. Thank you so much for watching. Let's go put her home.
Well, there you go. Fantastic angling and a fantastic amount of information. Lots to take away and think about. I can't thank Matt enough for being so generous in sharing his perch fishing with us. Myself, I've been out catching some nice perch. Look forward to sharing that with you very soon. I've also been out doing some pike fishing and fishing for grayling, so make sure you look out for that too. But for now, until the next one, look after yourselves and be lucky.